And we're on the air. Hi, everyone. So this week we're back this week for another Frequently Asked Questions live on the air with XYZ, hosted by myself, Matty's Mon Life, or Matty, and I'm here with David Hiscox, the senior editor of the XYZ. How's it going, David?
Hello, Matty. Very good, Matty. Thanks for having me.
No, well, I mean, this is a mutual benefit. It's not a having me thing at this point in time.
Well, you know, I'm a very polite person.
I've got to get onto the. I can't remember how to get onto chat for the live stream, so that can make this a little easier for everyone. Live streaming. So, how's your week been? Before we get right into it, Dave.
Well, it's been a busy one. It's always a busy one. I'm pretty stoked to get the book review out for Aaron Clarey's Enjoy the Decline.
Yes.
I read it about a month ago, and the plan was, because we've got 3 books in the work, he's one of them. The plan was read the books, whack out book reviews, and just go bang, 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 bang. And we can advertise them, and we've already had sales of Aaron Clarey's book, and we get royalties from the sale. But it was one of those books where it really made me take a position on something that I've been thinking about for about 3 years, because the book, Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand, like, it was one of the things that motivated me to get the XYZ up and running. The idea that we have to go gold on the socialist system, so much as it was as the work ethic of the characters in the book, and just their dedication and just their virtue, and that just inspired me to work hard. And I've always felt with Atlas Shrugged that if the protagonists actually sort of fought the government to get control of their country, they wouldn't have had to destroy the entire country to actually win the battle. So I've made an interesting argument about that in the book review, and Aaron seems to be quite happy that I've haven't just agreed with everything that he said, so that's gone down pretty well.
Yeah, I did read your book review, and I quite enjoyed it. I've never heard of this book before.
Yeah, it's he's been put onto us by Adam Pickett. I think he does a lot of work in the manosphere, and I'm still learning what he's all about. He's got some really, really interesting ideas. He's really sharp. His economic ideas are really, really good. I reckon you and him, like, talking to each other, you could riff off each other pretty well.
Yeah, we should get him on the live stream then. That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
Excellent. Now I'm just trying to. I can't remember how I did it last week. I'm actually just trying to bring the chat up. I can't remember how I did it.
Yeah. I can keep talking about my life if you like.
yeah, if you could, just for the next couple of minutes. Sorry about that, viewers. We're just going to get this going. Okay.
Yeah. Well, there's another book that we've got in the wings called Lost Causes, and I found that really interesting because it was like, if you combine Aaron Clarey's book with, say, Tom Clancy. That's what this book is about, because it's a guy who is a spy, and he runs off to, like, South America and does all these things for his country, and like the main dude, like, he starts off in Flanders Field in France, like, surrounded by all the World War I cemeteries and everything. So he's a real sense of what he's come from. But then you always have these sections in the book where it talks about his country, Britain, is no longer his country. He's not fighting for the same thing, and it's in many ways fighting against him. So it's a story about a guy who does his duty for a country which is not really his country anymore. He does it, you know, because he loves the job.
Yeah.
But I just found it a really interesting concept. It's because, like,
okay, great. Well, I mean, everyone can go and check it out on XYZ. The review is up there right now, so but you check that out after the live stream, or maybe tomorrow. But right now, like, I just wanted to talk about, like, there's a number of things that we're going to be talking about today. Obviously, we want to go over the White House memo, which is something which is really, really trending in the media right now, especially in America. Not so much in the Australian media, but definitely in the United States, it's really big. Also, Elon Musk's little new battery scheme. I want to yeah, we can go through that, and also what else was there? A couple of wanted to discuss these tax cuts that Malcolm Turnbull sort of proposed, mainly the reaction from the Labor Party and the left to the tax cuts. But first up, I just wanted to, I had a bit of a thing that I wanted to bring up with regards to the Australian Open. So I usually watch the Australian Open. I'm not a huge tennis fan, but I mean, I enjoy competition. And tennis, I mean, I played tennis when I was a kid, and I enjoy the sport when it's here in Australia because time zones make it easy. I can't really watch any of the other Opens. One's in Europe, which is 10 hours, 11 hours behind. The other one's in America. So it doesn't quite work out in terms of timing. But I do watch the Australian Open, and one thing that really annoyed me this year, I don't know if they've done this every year. I can't remember it ever happening, but during the ceremony for both the female singles and the men's singles, this lady, I think she was the Australian Open organizer. I can't remember her name. I really should have written her name down for the live stream, but she's come out and she's thanked the Victorian government. So they go over and they thank all these people. Like, we like to thank the sponsors, we like to thank the fans, da, 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 da. But then she's gone and thanked the Victorian government. And this really annoyed me because it's not the Victorian government that should be thanked. It's the Victorian taxpayers who paid for it. And not once has she even mentioned, thank you to the people of Victoria or the taxpayers of Victoria, who isn't probably not even the majority of Victoria right now. Thank you to the taxpayers for paying for all the upgrades here. Because but then you got like Dickie as Dan Andrews and his ministers running around sort of taking the credit for improving the facilities there when it wasn't actually them. It was taxpayers, and that kind of annoyed me. So I just wanted to. What did you think about that?
Well, taxation is theft.
Correct.
So. Yeah, it's just a mindset or just a way of looking at life. It's like thank the government. No, you don't thank the government. You thank the people because the government is funded by the people, and we elect the government. And if we don't like the government, then we can get rid of the government. We can elect different people to rule over us. That's an interesting thing. It's not something that people who are not necessarily educated on how the economy really works would actually pick up on. But it's really interesting that you picked up on that because it's a really, really important point.
Yeah.
Because it's our money. It's not the government money. I've heard a story about of someone who receives government money and they think that they can just take the money, and it was explained to them, look, you have a responsibility to use this money wisely because this money comes from the people. And this person was like, no, it's government money. It's not the people's money. It's like, no, but where do you think the government gets the money from?
Yeah, and that it really annoys me. I kind of express how annoying it is when you hear these. This wasn't even politicians saying it, but even when politicians do it, because they love to take credit for we spent money on this and we spent money on that. It's like, no, you didn't spend money on anything. None of your money was actually spent. It was taxpayers that spent the money. You just signed the checks. That's all you did. You just signed the piece of paper that said, we will use taxpayer money to purchase whatever we want to purchase at this time. And it's this left-wing worship of the state, which really, really annoys me. And they're using this. Yes. They're using this ceremony. It's like bread and circuses. Come and have a look at the Australian Open. What we, the Australian taxpayer or the Australian or Victorian government, have provided to you. Just ignore the fact that we stole money to actually provide it. So the taxpayers are paying for it, which is, like I said, less than half the population, most likely. So thank you very much to the government for nothing. But actual thank you to the taxpayers for the Australian Open and the better facilities there. So I'm sure the media will ignore that completely, or they did ignore that completely because they seem to be right behind the government these days. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that up just to get it off my chest because it's been annoying me since I saw it 2 weeks ago. It just really pissed me off. I'm like, annoys me. Like, they did it twice too.
Well,
And you see these politicians in the crowd. I think, you see the politicians in the crowd go, yeah, look how great we are. Vote for us. It's like, you're a dickhead. Dickie is Dan Andrews, mate.
well, while we're on the subject of stupid things that the government does, should we start this podcast with and live stream with an acknowledgement of the traditional Aboriginal elders? Do you think that's something that we should do?
Is that something that we should do?
Yeah.
If we're doing it ironically and sarcastically, yeah. Let's
I'll pay the rent for this place. You guys can get stuff.
No, thank you. I'll rather not be welcomed onto my own property. That would be not something that I would ever do. This is my country, and the only day that I was ever welcome to this country was the day that I was born in this country. And I will not be ever welcomed back to my own country unless I go on holidays and I come back, and then you can welcome me back to my own country.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think if I'm going to be welcomed to my own country, I'm going to be wanting to be naked and screaming as well.
Yeah, yes. The only way you should ever welcome a naturally born Australian to Australia is when they first come out as God made them. Like, that's the only time that I would ever see that as acceptable. I mean, we should really discuss a little bit of the fallout from Australia Day and this idiotic protest. I can't believe none of us, because we did the last live stream 2 weeks ago or 2.5 weeks ago after on Australia Day. And none of us picked up on that burn it to the ground comment. I didn't read about it until the next day from memory. Unless we did pick about no, I don't remember us talking about it.
Yeah, I did a quote of the day. I did a quote of the day.
Yeah. And
then for the next 3 nights, it was just like the saga just kept continuing. It's amazing because like I was saying like at the start of January, look, now that the fake marriage issue is out of the way, the left are going to go hammer and tongs after Australia Day. And not even I could have predicted this just absolute golden line about burning Australia to the ground. Because like we've been talking about how like the whole underlying reason that they're attacking Australia is because they want to destroy Australia. And then lo and behold, someone comes out and says, yep, we actually do want to destroy Australia.
Yeah, and then that war, like some warriors for the Aboriginal resistance, they sound like the people's front of Judea, or was it the Judean People's Front? It's like we're the resistance front we're the resistance Aboriginal warriors.
What has the Australian government ever done for us? What has British colonialism ever done for us? Apart from living longer, medicine.
I don't know if I've mentioned this on the last live stream either, but it's like, air conditioning, exactly. Well, I think we did mention this last time. Anyone who wants to just burn Australia to the ground, before you decide just to burn this country to the ground, first of all, go and live in like a communist country or like Venezuela for a year. But if you're not willing to do that, maybe you could go in Canberra. No, I don't live in Canberra. We have our own swamp that needs to be drained. What we should do, like what they need to do, is go out and live as a genuine hunter-gatherer for a year. I doubt many of them would last a month. I think I watched this show a couple of years ago. It was The Island. It was a Bear Grylls show called The Island. He was just the host of it. He wasn't actually a part of the reality show that it was. But in that show, if you have never seen it, I think it's like 10 guys are given a bottle of water. So one bottle of water, like this is like product placement for Pump. I'll be expecting my royalties in the mail for that. So they go to an island, and the challenge is to just survive for a month, for 30 days. And it is ridiculously hard. So they get a bottle of water, they get cameras, so they got to record everything. And the one bit of technology that they have other than cameras are emergency beacons. So if something ever happens, then they just click the emergency, and that person will get, they'll save whoever they need to. And so what happens is, like, within 2 days, like 2 people have died, 1 or 2 people have died within a day or two because they can't find water. So So like, I think yeah, so you need water within 3 days. I'm pretty sure at least one, probably two in the first season are dead by 3 days, and I think by the end of it, like a third of them are dead. At least a third of them are dead, if not half. So it's no, you wouldn't want that lifestyle. So they should go and live it for maybe a year or so, and then come back to us and let us know whether they prefer cable TV or spending 3 days trying to find food. Yeah, which would you rather? Being able to go to 7-Eleven and get a sausage roll, or having to spend 3 days trying to find a kangaroo to eat? Which one would you prefer? I don't know. I don't know which one I'd prefer, but I guess the Australian government and white settlement has never done anything for Aboriginal people.
Not a thing. Not a thing. Again, like I think I was mentioning last week or the week before, like one of Bill Whittle's most popular videos is just entitled 3.5 Days. And he points out that for a compulsory 3.5 days for people in the wilderness where they have to look after themselves is all it would take to make them appreciate civilization and the free market. It would solve.
You see, I think that's optimistic. I think these people. I mean, look at them. They've obviously suffered in their life through their own stupidity in a lot of cases. So I reckon they might have enough stubbornness in them to maybe last 4 or 5 days. So let's give them a month and really beat it out of them. Like that, Western civilization is a lot better than the alternative. I would imagine a lot of these people haven't actually visited a truly poor country either. This is why they get so upset when these left-wing idiots get so upset when Donald Trump calls Haiti a shithole. It's like, oh, you can't say that. Like, but it's a shithole. It's a proper shithole. Go live there for a week. Go. Not in a 5-star resort. Like, go live where the people go. Drive through where the people live there, and try and live as they do for 1 week, and let us know which life you prefer. I mean, these idiots, like you say, oh, we shouldn't take things for granted. It's like these left-wing people take our entire civilization for granted. They hate our civilization. They want to get rid of it, and it's like they have no real alternative other than let's just burn it all to the ground. Let's burn Australia to the ground.
It's ironic because like if you think of RK selection theory, like these left-wing people are selected, as in like it's like they're prey animals. They're the ones who are hunted, and their instincts are different to someone like you and me. And it's ironic that civilization makes more of these kinds of people. It's the meme about hard times make strong men make good times make weak men.
Yep.
So we've had a period where we've had the good times making a lot of the weak men, and these weak men, ironically, it's like their every instinct is to keep them alive and allows their genes to flourish.
Yes. I mean, I've briefly looked over the R and K theory selection. I'm not an expert on it, obviously, but so R selected. These are individuals that are single parents. They're single parent children, aren't they? Yeah, and then there's the K selected, which is a parent children with 2 parents. It makes a lot of sense because I think I heard a theory once, the idea that all these left-wing people, all these idiot soy boys are just virtue signaling to get their mothers more money from the government because they're all single parents.
Yes.
And it's like, that's probably what a lot of them are deep down doing. Like they're demanding the government take more money so that they can get more resources for their genes, which is why welfare is it's so important that you stop welfare, because you don't want to proliferate that kind of behavior within the gene pool. I mean, that's a very, very easy way to destroy the human race, not just Western society.
Yeah. Well, let's move on. Let's talk about the memo.
The memo. Ooh, the memo. What are your thoughts on the memo?
Well, just one thought on it is that it's really shown that the mainstream media, have absolutely no relationship to reality. The last time that I actually kind of thought that maybe a big change in the real world could alter the way that the media sort of presents the news and presents facts was the election of Donald Trump. I thought surely after this they'll sort of re-examine themselves and say, you know what, we've actually got to do this differently. We're not in line with reality. Like, we've been trying to present something which is just completely just like with their own mindset. But once I realized that, like, no, they're doubling down and they're going even harder. And now they're calling everybody who was predicting that Trump would go well, they're calling that fake news. It's all over. We've got to just replace them. So it hasn't surprised me that they've been trying to present this as a Republican conspiracy theory across the media. Like, it does not matter that, like, the Russian conspiracy has been completely blown out of the water. Like, it's been shown that the evidence that was used to present to a court to spy on members of the Trump team.
Hey, Dave, just before you
go
on, are you wearing headphones, like earplugs? No. Make sure you're wearing earplugs, man, because I'm getting a bit of feedback and your microphone's cutting out. So do you want to fix that as quickly as you can? And I mean, in terms of the memo, for me, I mean, I obviously you sort of, you touched on a couple of points there, and yeah, the way the Democrats have behaved regarding it has kind of been it's been quite appalling, actually. This the way they see before the memo was released, it was going to undermine the republic, and it was a threat to national security, and no, you can't release it, it's too dangerous to release. And then all of a sudden, once it's been released and everyone's seen it, it's like, oh, it's nothing. It's actually nothing. It's like, no, it's not nothing. You fraudulently obtained a warrant in order to spy on the campaign of your political opponent, and you did it using taxpayer funds. And almost certainly it was done under Barack Obama. I mean, Barack Obama it's very likely that Barack Obama knew exactly what was going on, if not ordered it himself. I wouldn't be surprised if Barack Obama actually ordered that surveillance on his own and got the FBI to do it just to help out Hillary. So it's a really bad look for the Democrats, and they are either, I would imagine maybe some are too stupid to realize just how bad they look. But there's probably some of them that are actually deliberately misleading people and say, oh, it's nothing. Oh, don't worry about it. It's just classical political games, because they know that there are millions of people in America who will literally just believe them because they're Democrats and they're on the Democrat side. So they're basically washed on partisan. It's, for them, the politics is like watching the football. So their team does something, it's fine. The other team does something, it's not. So for they'll win those people over. But any people in the middle, like the people that actually matter at elections, like middle class voters, like Rust Belt flyover states, these people can see the truth. Like, these people can see that it's a massive problem. Like, it's massive corruption from, well, you would think so. I mean, and I will imagine that Donald Trump is going to really give it to them. I haven't been watching him on Twitter, but they're really copying it, and all over the alternative media, like all over the new media, it's being discussed as one of the worst things that's ever been done by a political party, or by the state, by the government. It's one of the worst things they could have done. I would imagine this is worse than Watergate. This is
much worse than Watergate.
Yeah. This is blatant corruption of the political process, and a huge breach of trust, because this is a secret court. So this is a secret court that's supposed to be held to higher. The FISA court, yeah. So someone once also sort of mentioned that it could have been maybe a corrupt judge. I don't know if that's been proven, but I did see that the application for the surveillance, this is what's so bad about it. There was an application for surveillance, and it got rejected. And then they went and got the piss dossier, which they knew was fake, which the Democrats knew that they paid for, and they used that in the FISA court. So I mean, come on, like this is criminal. Like these agents, these FBI agents and Department of Justice officials that did this should be summarily terminated without a pension. And Barack Obama, if he's found to be culpable, should probably go to prison, because that's like, I don't know. Well, I don't know the law in America, but you would think he would be going to prison if he's approved that and if he's allowed that. That's pretty bad. Like, I mean, that's massive. It's treasonous it's treasonous in a lot of ways. Because I mean, I know it's a political
hat.
Sorry?
You don't need a tinfoil hat to maybe make the assumption that, yes, there are some judges who are in on this as well. Like, you see how they've been activists with regard to stopping the temporary immigration and that sort of stuff. So there's been resistance to the Trump administration's agenda from within the judiciary in the United States as well. So yeah, it's not a tinfoil hat thing, but I guess a corrupt judge in that case isn't absolutely necessary. But yeah, and like when you're talking about Barack Obama, like when you're thinking about the Hillary server, that server has communications for Barack Obama. Like Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama would have been communicating via email. Barack Obama, every time he sends an email to Hillary Clinton, there's a thing that tells him whether it's on a secure server or not. So like that server could have evidence that Barack Obama knew that he was sending wasn't secure.
I mean, yeah, look, I mean, in terms of the watched emails on the server and all that kind of thing, I'm just hoping that someone's backed it all up and they're going to come and they're going to really nail them. It's good to watch, but I don't know. You don't know exactly what's going to happen from here. I can't see this being a good thing for the Democrats at all. I would imagine because this is pretty, you would think it's pretty high up. I mean, it's high up in the FBI and the Department of Justice. So they've done the wrong thing here, and instead of saying, like, this is how stupid they are. See, Democrats, they're like American political system, like the Democrats and the Republicans, they're such broad, like they're so broad in terms of the people that are within them. I mean, you got the Democrats that are like the old schools, you know, these Saul Alinsky radical types like Hillary Clinton. So you got Democrats like her that are they're in it for power. She just wants to be president, but they're basically just, for want of a better word, they're communists. Like they're on the spectrum. They're like autist, like autism. There's a spectrum. There's a communist spectrum, and they're definitely she's on the communist spectrum. So there's people on the communist spectrum, like these are the old school Democrats, but you also have business Democrats as well. So these are sort of probably maybe even your more libertarian types, like the business Democrats and neoliberals, who are they're with the Democrats and they're donating to the Democrats because they want, because they're playing the crony game, or they're just political donations and they think, oh, maybe they'll help out our business and all that kind of thing. So I can't see how this is going to be very good for the Democrats at all, because I'd imagine a lot of these business Democrats are going to be, if they have any kind of sense of morality and what's good, then they would likely abandon the Democratic Party. So my point is, what the Democrats should be doing, well, these Democrats, if they risk losing these business Democrats, or if there is someone like, if there is another business Democrat, if they really wanted to save the party, they would be very strongly urging that anyone involved with this memo, anyone who let that happen, knew about this happening, anyone involved, they should just be calling for them to be sacked immediately. So the Democrats should be saying, these other Democrats should be coming out saying, this is not us, we didn't do it, this is those people in the party, don't blame us, we're going to make sure that we're going to kick them out of the party, and just kick them out of the party and just be like, we don't want you in our party. But I think the Democratic Party is so corrupt, it's so rotten all the way down that they're not going to be able to save themselves. Like I wouldn't be surprised if they did die as a party, but who knows? I mean, I also wouldn't be surprised if they rebound because, I mean, this is politics. This is, the two-party system.
Well, it's not unusual for leftists to not bag their own people when they're caught out. Like it's leftists are known for just doubling down and like they'll only kick out one of their own if they really, really have to, or like Hillary Clinton will suicide one of them. One of the things that I was really hoping for when Donald Trump came into power was that he would just destroy a lot of just the power base that's in Washington, D.C. Like he would just come in like a tornado. He talks about draining the swamp. I was hoping he would dynamite it. And this looks like one of those occasions where like what this reveals is just like massive corruption at high, doing like ridiculously corrupt things. So it's the impression I get is that Donald Trump has been planning this for a while, and he's got his chess pieces aligned up, and this is the first kind of hint that he's ready to strike, and a lot of these people are just going to go down in one big hit.
Yeah, I tend to agree, and I mean, there's this memo comes out, and this memo is also sort of drained out another thing that the Democrats are sort of destroying themselves on, and that's DACA. Now, I'm not 100% up to speed on the details of what's happening there, but I think there's a few million illegal immigrants or people who probably shouldn't be in America. And the Democrats want to obviously give them all the path to citizenship because that's how they're going to get votes. And Donald Trump wants to get rid of them, but Donald Trump also wants his wall. So I think what Donald Trump has done, like he said, yes, we'll sign a deal on DACA. We'll give you, 500,000 to 1 million of these dreamers, which means like 3/4 of them are gone anyway. But you need to block all, no more anchor babies, no more, no more backdoor to citizenship. And I get my wall. I get a fully funded wall, and it's like he said, "Well, this is the deal. Do you want the deal or not?" And they basically just said no, because, and then he can just turn around and say, "Well, I offered you a deal on DACA, and you don't want it." And it's just like he's just playing them. He's just showing how easy it is to play these people. Like I've been pulling my hair out for the last decade watching the Liberal Party just umming and like just running around like headless chooks, being unable to combat the media smears. And it's like the way to do it is to just throw them back in their face. And every time the media comes out and smears you with something, you just turn around and call them fake news because that's what they are. It's like Tony Abbott's biggest problem. This is like I'll just mention Tony Abbott because he campaigned so well. Tony Abbott's mistake was during the campaign, I mean, he raised taxes when he shouldn't, when he said he wouldn't. He raised stamp duties. And I mean, after telling the world that, Julia Gillard has lied on the carbon tax, and then he goes and does that, it's like, well, okay, fair enough. You look like a hypocrite. But what he also did was cut spending growth. So he didn't actually cut spending. He just cut growth to spending. And the media was all, look, he cut. What he should have done in the campaign was just said, we'll cut whatever we need to. We'll get us to surplus. Yes. We'll cut whatever we need to. And
he committed himself to he committed himself to actually funding Labor Party policy. Like he said, okay, yeah, we'll keep the NDIS, we'll keep Gonski. So he was basically section with Labor Party policies. That's effectively what he said. But we're still going to find a way to cut the deficit and cut the national debt.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Of course, the debt just kept getting bigger. Yeah,
it's like we want to cut the debt.
It was always on a hiding to nothing. Yeah. Regarding DACA, that deal really gets to the heart of basically the crisis facing the West, because Donald Trump is saying, look, here's a way that we can stop people from third world countries, from third world shitholes coming into America. Yes, it's the people coming over the border now. Yes, it's the people who are already here. That's a big deal. But it's like what he's thinking is 20 years' time, in 20 years' time, when all of these people have lots and lots of children, and all of their children bring in all their relatives. Like, we're not just talking about a few million people. We're talking about tens of millions, possibly hundreds of millions of people who could come into the United States. And for the Democrats, that would be huge, because immigrants tend to vote Democrat, and the places where these people are coming from, they are more likely to vote Democrat. So what Donald Trump is doing is saying, "I'll give you a deal, but it's going to cut off your entire voting base," and so it exposes their actual motives for what they are. And it's the sort of thing that if that can be applied in Europe as well, it could save Europe too.
Yeah, and I think this scares the left quite a lot because
Yeah,
he's also showing people exactly how it can be done and what needs to be done. I think someone said, I think it was Stefan Molyneux, I watched a video, he said that Donald Trump was like the King Alpha. And it's pretty true. Like this guy just out alphas anyone who comes at him. It's like, has anyone been able to get him? Like he just, every time they come and attack him, he comes back, he just turns back and makes them look like fools, and they just keep losing. And his approval rating keeps going up as well. It's like his approval rating was in the mid-30s, and I think there was a Rasmussen one, which is slightly biased towards the Republicans, but that one's had him at 49%, which is a pretty good approval rating. Probably more like low 40s now, I would imagine. But I mean, even to get the Rasmussen one nearly at 50%, he's really done well. And it's those tax cuts. It's the tax cuts. And I want to get onto the tax cuts in a minute. Let's we have a couple of questions from the audience. So from Ian, what do you think about the Super Bowl tourism ad, the fake new Crocodile Dundee trailer? I actually just found out about this about 20 minutes ago, or 20 minutes before the live stream. So do you have any thoughts on that?
No, could you tell me what happened? So
there was a fake live stream. There was a fake ad. I think it was an ad for Australian tourism, but it was like pretending to be a trailer for a new Crocodile Dundee film starring. I don't know if his name, like they said his name was Kenny Powers on the news, but I don't know if that's the actor's actual name, because that's what his name was in Eastbound and Down. Yeah. Kenny F. and Towers. Oh, it's one of my favorite shows ever. I love that show. But he's a really funny actor. The missus won't let me watch Vice Principals because she doesn't like it. But I really like him, and I thought the trailer looked really funny. So I'm like, but it was fake. It turned out to be fake. So it's just, I think it's just something that's pretty funny. I don't have any strong opinions on it at the moment.
If Australians are still presenting an image to the world of the lovable larrikin, the lovable white larrikin, who, is just a bit rough and just a rougher version of Americans, of middle Americans, then that makes me very, very happy.
Well, I mean, yeah, this, the trailer was good, and it was like, it was classic. Danny McBride is the name of the guy, apparently. The guy who plays Kenny Powers. And he's like doing this thing with the bull. Was like, I'm training the bull.
That's magnificent.
Oh, it's just taking the piss. All right, so apparently,
I really miss Steve Irwin.
I mean, he was very Australian. I think I'm kind of worried that Bindi Irwin might turn into a bit of a publicity hoe, but hopefully not. Hopefully not. Let's have a look. It'd be interesting. Okay, I don't know what that is. 1.8 million DACA. For the DACA, that's how many people are affected by it. I think Donald Trump offered like maybe half of them. I think he offered half of them, and but with no path to citizenship. So yes, you can come in, but we're closing it all from now on. No one else is allowed in, and I get my wall and da, da, da. So he's put them on the horns. He's put them on the horns, and he can't. They have no answer to it. So Ania Tack 76 has asked, how long can Australia sustain importing new citizens than our replacement birth rate before we are lost?
I think we might be a few decades away. Australia needs a Trump. We need to find a way. At the moment, we're bringing in 200,000 people a year. And in a population of 24 million, that's a huge proportion. It's just a massive proportion. And most of those are from Africa, Asia, Latin America. And it's changing the whole demographic makeup. And again, the Labor Party are bringing them in deliberately. Yes, the immigrants might be a little more socially conservative, as we saw with the fake marriage vote, but it's a deliberate plan on the part of the Labor Party. And for the Liberal Party to continue to support it is a bit suicidal as well. And it's another good example of why the Liberal Party are going further and further across to the left.
Yeah, I mean, Australia's actually not as far gone as America. Our European population, I think it's still over. I think it's like 75%. So we still have mainly European people, and a lot of the non-Europeans are mainly East Asians. So it's not super. I wouldn't be super concerned about Australia. Obviously, that doesn't mean you got to sit on your hands, and there is definitely a very big risk. I think the biggest problem, this is always the biggest problem in our society right now is welfare, and the fact that there's just so much of it, and and taxation is so high. Now, if you simply turn around, I think if Turnbull and the Liberal Party had the guts, see, this is the problem. They don't have the guts to stand up to the sycophantic left-wing media and do what Trump does and say and just say, well, screw you guys. I'm just going to skip the media. I'm going to not worry about doing interviews if I don't need to. I'll talk to the people I want to talk to. And because, I mean, this is what these politicians forget. This is what politicians, exactly. Come on, XYZ. If, Malcolm Turnbull's too left-wing for my book, but at least he's sort of, I think he's sort of coming in. We could rip into him, and he's coming back to us in terms of immigration due to One Nation. Hopefully they come and really strengthen the borders and come out, because this immigration is where the Liberal Party can win. If they turn around and say, we want to slash immigration, we want to cut taxes, we want to cut spending back to get it back to surplus, vote for us, and we'll do everything we can to give more money to you and give more power to you and protect our borders. This is a winning platform. And all he has to do, and because the media are going to turn around and go, oh, you're racist, and we'll talk about, trickle-down economics doesn't work. Oh, God, that term annoys me so much. Yeah. Trickle-down economics. On that. We could actually do a full podcast on trickle-down. I'll talk about it with you. I'll talk about the podcast opportunities later, but we could do a full podcast on that. And it's like, it annoys me how easy it is. You just got to go right back in. You can't be afraid of the media calling you a racist or a bigot. You just can't, because if you don't say what you're thinking, and if you don't put your position out there as confidently as possible, then because for fear of being labelled something, then that gives those labels power. And if they just came out, if these Liberal Party members, I think there's a lot of people in the Liberal Party right now who are really aching at the bit to get out and start talking sense. But right now, they're sort of hoping that they can put enough pressure on Malcolm Turnbull to turn around, and maybe there's some sort of paradigm shift. But we do need a new Trump. We do need a new Trump.
The two things that can turn Australia around are reducing the welfare state to almost zero, and reducing immigration to almost zero. Because the welfare state, the burdens on the citizens to fund the welfare state means it's one of the things that actually suppresses birth rates. So you reduce the welfare state, all of a sudden we start having more children anyway. And also the welfare state is the sugar on the table that attracts migrants to the country in the first place, and it attracts the wrong kind of migrants to the country.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Yeah. So you close the borders and you cut down on welfare, and a lot of our problems go away. And so you can see Donald Trump, he's working on that already. Like he's cutting taxes, and so there's not going to be as much money to fund government programs, but Americans are going to have more money in the bank. That's going to raise birth rates. He's cutting down on immigration. So he's actually working at the two key factors that can save America.
Yeah, and the problem with cutting welfare, this is why, again, a real conservative party or real right of centre party, a free market, small government party needs to come in and just have the balls to tell people the truth. We can't afford welfare anymore.
Yes.
We can't afford it. Look at the deficit is 50 billion out, and taxes are through the roof. Like, the government makes up 30% of the economy. Sorry, I think it's even more now, 35% of the economy. They're taking our money hand over fist, and it's not helping us at all. It's just destroying the nation. The biggest problem is how do you go to someone who's been on welfare for the last 20 years and say, oh, well, sorry, we're cutting you off? So I think, there is a road to a soft solution in that we say, okay, we're gonna tighten the requirements a little bit anyway for people now. So maybe we're going to cut, the amount that you get in the pension by 20% or whatever it is in terms of that. But also saying, raising the pension age is a big start. So raising it to 75, means testing it. So if anyone has, means test it properly, not just like, if you have over 400,000. No, if you have more than $30,000 worth of assets, that puts you in the top 1% of the world. You don't need the pension if you got more than 30 grand in assets. You go out, get a job. I don't care if you're unless you're dying. My grandfather worked until he was almost in his 80s. You can work. Unless you can't work, you can work. Unless you physically are unable to work, then you can go out and work. And also, if anyone, and also we should say no new kids. So any new kid is not subject to any welfare at all. So just cut that off completely. So it's all right. What it is now is fine, but new children, you're off forever. So in 1 year's time, you have 1 year's time, any children born after this time on this date are not eligible for welfare at all, ever. In terms of, ever in terms of child welfare, like the family tax benefit, single parent pension, all that kind of thing. And you could cut a significant chunk of the welfare bill overnight, just like that, just by raising the pension age to 75 and saying no welfare for any new children. That would really, really go a long way in getting us back to the budget, and getting people to have more kids, and it would strengthen the traditional family as well, because there's no more welfare being given to single parents to go out and get nailed by every dick that they see at the pub on a Saturday.
Yes. I'm a big believer in shock therapy. It's I know I'm giving the book a plug again. Aaron Clary's book, he talks about the fact that the economic system that we have, with the way the welfare is being distributed, the unfunded liabilities, it's not sustainable. And what's the end result? Where is this all heading? If our system is not sustainable, it's going to collapse. And what's going to happen if it collapses? Most people are going to die. That's the end result of it. So it's okay, I know we're taking away your welfare, but if we don't do this now, then most people are going to die further down the track.
Yeah, that's it. And it's the choice is have a little bit of medicine, the easy medicine now, or a little bit of hard medicine now, or cancer later. So it's see, I can see this happening. I can see it all happening around me, and I explain it to people as well. I meet people and I explain it to them. People nod their head going, yeah, that's true. But it's come on, we got to tell everyone, it's really important. Taxation is theft, and theft is immoral, and immorality destroys societies one act at a time.
Jeez, you just summed up everything. If people could understand that, bang.
Well, yeah, I wish they could understand that. I mean, I'm gonna write a comment on. I'm gonna write a column on it eventually. I might do a video on it. But yeah, immorality. It's every time you do something that's genuinely immoral. So I'm talking, stealing, raping, assaulting, killing, all these kind of things. There's obviously other things, committing fraud, and every time you do something immoral, that. This creates, it's like a bubble. It's you do one immoral act, and don't forget, let's say you probably meet anywhere, but probably meet 1,000 people in your life, genuinely speaking to 1,000 people. If you're normal, I've probably met 10 times that as many people because I'm ridiculous. But the average person might meet 1,000 people in their life. Imagine if 1,000 people. So you got 1,000 people, and then say those 1,000 people know another 1,000 people. That means you're 2 steps away from a million, you're 1 step away from a million, and 2 steps away from a billion people. So imagine, over your life, you do one good thing to someone or one bad thing to someone, and then that affects their day, and then they go and do one good thing to the next person, or one good thing to 2 good things to the next person, or 2 good things to the next person after that. So you conceptualize it like that. Every time you do something that's immoral that affects someone else, it's not just that person that you're affecting. It's that person and the person that they affect because your immorality hurts someone else. And then it's the person. So there's that flow-on effect. So every time you do something bad, like say if you steal a pen, it's like, okay, that's not that bad of a deal. But if you go and kill your neighbor's cat, that does create a lot of negativity, and it all ripples out through society. And this is, individuals create a little bit of negativity. Like, so you do something bad and that's bad, but then you can negate that by doing something good the next day, and it doesn't end up, you know, if you're like a neutral person, so you're neither good nor evil, then the effect isn't going to be all that much. But, you know, whether you're like, you know, might be a little bit good, a little bit bad, but if you're the government, this gets to the point of the government and welfare and taxation and theft. If you're the government and you're literally committing immorality across, like, society-wide immorality, this is like millions of cases of immoral acts every single year, if not billions of little acts of immorality. It's like this adds up eventually. Like eventually, this is just going to add up a little bit more, and it's not hard to see it collapse. And and you know, when the immorality is theft, then what a shock! The risk is that we are going to collapse into fiscal chaos. So it's like, you know, if the immorality is raping, then you're just going to get a lot more violence. Same for death. If the immorality is theft, you're going to get fiscal collapse and a lot more theft. And it's like, it all adds up on each other. And this is why you've got to, you know, be reminding the government and be reminding people that taxation is theft and theft is wrong and welfare is bad for society. It doesn't help anybody. It helps zero people. I mean, the people that benefit from the most from welfare are people that would have been fine without it. Like, these are people that would have been, you know, generally high IQ people, usually maybe educated. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're at least high school educated, but they're usually fairly skilled, and they'll be able to get over it anyway. Yes. And those people as well, especially those people, those high value people who end up being single parents, because the welfare state has eroded that family unit. Where before there was no welfare state, the family would really help. If something happened, the family would come in and say, all right, this has happened, we've got to fix this as a family. But now it's just like, the government will do it. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine. Yeah. Hang out, do it on your own. So it's the morality. Yeah. Anyway, I'm crapping on this topic, okay. But it's really important.
If I can jump in there, because I think that's beautifully said. One of the reasons that I bang on so much about cultural Marxism is because cultural Marxism's influence in society and in the arts in particular is to promote a kind of ugliness, and it inverts morality, so that in the past, like social shaming in society was used against acts which harmed the whole of society, like having a child out of wedlock. And now it's celebrated, and people are shamed for trying to shame someone who has a child out of wedlock. That's a good example. And so, like you say, that ripples throughout the whole of society. And the idea of cultural Marxism is to promote this across society. So you have ripple after ripple after ripple, and it causes chaos. And the kind of ugliness that we see in the arts, like I think it really hurts people, like whether you're talking about visual arts or just the sort of atonal rubbish that you get in music. Like that's it. Music and the arts are supposed to speak to the soul, and if what's going in is just this really dark nonsense, then that really affects people themselves. But that's that's getting pretty deep.
Yeah, So. It's amazing just to think about. This is why I love economics so much, because people look at economics. People have a bad view of economics and because of people who call themselves economists. So people call themselves economists when they're not really economists. They just have the title economist. They're really just Keynesian socialists pretending to understand how economics works, but they're not actually economists. So these people will make all these idiotic predictions, and then these predictions are wildly wrong, and people think, well, obviously economics is a ridiculous field because you can't ever prove anything, and it's like you're always getting things wrong. And it's like, no. That's not how economics works. Economics is the study of human interactions on an economic basis, and that's what it is. And like, there are still laws within economics. Just because you can't set up formulas and be like, well, if we add $100 million worth of this stuff and $100 million worth of that stuff, and we do this and da, then the economy will grow by 4.35% per year for the next 3,000 years. It's like, it doesn't work like that. No, it's the study of human behavior and incentives and economic interactions between individuals, and it's a very chaotic study. But there are still laws, and this is my video. The first law of economics, Say's law. The first law of economics: you must produce before you consume. It's like this is the fundamental law of economics, that welfare just says, the welfare state just says, you know what? Who gives a shit about the first law? We'll just spend money and it'll be fine. We'll just spend more money. It's like, no. These people haven't produced anything and they're still consuming. They're a net drain on society. They are a net drain on society, and that's a fact. And when you've got millions of people being as a net drain on society, then what's going to happen? Society is going to be drained, one person at a time, or $1 at a time.
Yeah, this is why I think your videos are really important, because you're presenting these just facts of nature, and you're doing it in a really sort of just a really engaging way. And you make a really important point. I love the idea that the free market is people, and the free market.
Yeah, it is. It's people. It's not a market.
It's the sum
just individuals.
of everybody's human interactions.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, mutual interactions with an economic basis.
Yes, and I find it interesting. That's sort of why, like, you've done videos on human biology as well, and that's just an extension of that. Yeah.
I'd like to do more of these long form, or they're not long content. They're like highly researched, animated. Otherwise, they take forever. But that's the Say's law. I could probably do Say's law a bit quicker now, but the biology ones and the other, that video I did, the brief history of money, took me 6 weeks, and it got 300 views.
Holy crap!
It's only got 350 views. I'm just like. It's like, like you said, like, I like my content. I look at my content. I'm like, I'm happy with this content, but it's like, it really should be getting more views. It's like, why isn't it getting so many? But I figure it's fine. Like, I'll just keep making content, and I'm sure it'll
just keep making it.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll pick up eventually, because people like to dislike ratios are always through the roof, and it's pretty good. It's good view. They're good view time, and the comments are resoundingly positive. People seem to like that. People are enjoying the content. The people that are actually watching it, it would be nice if more people watched it. But it's like, you can only do. It's not in my control, so you do what you can.
We'll just keep plugging it. On the subject of economics, should we talk about Elon Musk?
Before we go on to Elon Musk, let's. There's a couple of very active people in our audience. Let's have a look. Okay, so someone just clarified it. I think 1.8 million DACA guys is what Trump offered. Okay, so he's just clarifying there. I don't think that's the case. I think it might be a little bit less than that in terms of what he offered, but the DACA, it must be the DACA's a lot higher. We will double check. Maybe not right now. We need a Sven computer like in Steven Crowder. Sven, go and find us the answer. Maybe
1.8 million is the number I have.
Maybe when we've got 1.8 million subscribers between us, we can do that. Cancer is an understatement. Okay, opinion on Ruddock's review. I haven't heard Ruddock's review.
Jeez, I've got to actually watch the Normie news.
Well, Andrew Bolt, the Bolt report finally came back. I was wondering where he was. Apparently, he fell off a ladder or something and broke his bones, but it was back on the Bolt report today. Andrew Bolt, this is the guy this is my gateway drug. Every conservative starts on Andrew Bolt.
That's a really that's why they attack him. Yeah.
Oh,
Andrew
that's why
Bolt is the daughter, XYZ,
the
red pill.
Yeah, exactly.
He brings more normies to our cause.
Yep. He also makes it a bit harder to grow, but at the same time, well, I suppose it's a bit of column A, but I think he's good for the media. He's good for the media. I haven't seen any British version of Andrew Bolt. I guess Tucker Carlson could almost be the American version of Bolty, but I don't he's a little bit more sensationalist. Like, I like Andrew Bolt. I like how he's He's a proper old school conservative, and he's not afraid to say what he thinks. He just doesn't have.
And he bashes Antifa.
He bashes Antifa. Yeah, he punches real Nazis. Puncher Nazi. He's the man. I'd love to meet him one day. But yeah, he's doing a really good job, and the Bolt Report does well on Sky News. It's good content. I don't know, like I think he could be a little bit more. He could say things a little bit harsher, but I think he's of the old school. Let's be a little bit more polite, kind of conservative, rather than the Milo Yiannopoulos. Let's just say whatever we want and piss people off as much as we can, kind of conservative. I mean, they both have their place. I think they both have their place. Like with Andrew Bolt's ideas are a lot better than Milo Yiannopoulos's. Like Andrew Bolt's solutions are a lot better. But Milo Yiannopoulos is a lot more entertaining, so it's like they're both so hard to choose. So yeah, I think that they're both great. Like I'm really liking the new conservative / libertarian. Well, it's not conservative; it's like conservative, libertarian, classical liberal, free thinking movement that hate the left. So that's basically it.
Yeah, it was very interesting to watch Andrew Bolt interview Milo Yiannopoulos because. I think he at one point, like Andrew Bolt said to Milo, "You have been fabulous," and you could just see that the words didn't really come out all that naturally. It was just this stuffy old man saying to fanboy Milo. That was quite amusing.
Sorry, mate. So Andrew Bolt is a much better writer than he is a speaker. That's one of his problems, but he's likable enough. He's likable enough and charismatic enough to pull it off. And because it's like, because of his old columns, like he's
the daggy uncle of the Australian right.
Basically, yeah. Like he's a bit daggy, but his columns are always so good. And his blog, I've been on his blog since it basically started. I think I found his blog like a year. I think when he started in 2006, maybe a little earlier than that. And he sort of by 2007 or 2008, I was all over it. So that was a long, long time ago. And since I remember, like back in the day when he would actually still reply to comments, he doesn't do that ever anymore. Because it's just like he's probably the biggest political blog in Australia for one person anyway. I mean, his writing is a lot better than his speeching. That's what I was saying. Yeah,
he gave us a big plug. He actually linked to us, and it provided the biggest ever boost that we've ever had, and we've just gone gangbusters since.
Yeah. I'd love to somehow be able to get his attention, like in terms of not in a good way, obviously, like make some sort of content that he goes, check this out, this is great. I'm like, this is something that I love to do. I shouldn't talk about myself so much. Let's self-promotion, manage my life. Like, comment, subscribe. Come back for more. Make sure you click the bell. You gotta get it on a. Hey,
you got anything on
XYZ News? Made in America. All right. Let's have a look. Okay, so a couple of people made some points. Okay, what do you think about the media's push to show the Sudanese community in Melbourne as victims rather than part of the gang wave problem?
That's hilarious. I saw something on the project, and I had the sound on for about 5 seconds, and then it hurt my brain, and I had to stop.
How could anyone watch that show?
It was amazing because that like they were interviewing them, and the Africans were saying. But yeah, of course, Aussies commit far more crime than us, so why are they focusing on us so much? But the fact of the matter is that the Sudanese community commit crime which is out of proportion of their actual numbers. Like that is the issue.
Yeah, actually, Bearing did a really good video.
This is how statistics work.
Oh yeah, definitely, and it's crazy. It's like I remember it was so funny on because they came out. I think it was about a week ago. Maybe a bit over a week ago. Maybe I think it was just before Australia Day, where they came out. The left have come out with this thing going, they only make up 1% of the crime problem. Like this is total crime. They only make up 1% of the crime problem in Melbourne. It's not this left wing idiot on Twitter. I'm like, I just go and look it up, and I was like, you realize that they only make up 0.1% of the population, meaning that just general crime, they're 10 times more likely to commit crime, just generally. But then when you actually isolate specific crimes, like Bering did a really good video. Bering did an amazing video on it, where he actually had this guy called Angry Aussie, who I wasn't sure whether he was actually satire or for real or not. It'd be interesting to find out. But the video, Bering goes in and actually goes through all the statistics. And it's like, yeah, they're 10 times more likely to commit crime generally. But once you isolate for burglary, home invasion, and robbery, it's like, you know, they commit like 10% of robberies and 8% of home invasions, or 15% of home invasions. And it's like, that makes,
and this is coming from 0.1%.
From 0.1% of the population, meaning they're like, what's that, like 800 times more likely to commit home invasion? And it's like the left-wing media just like, they've got nothing to stand on other than their usual left-wing lies of, no, just look over there. Trickle-down economics, trickle-down crime fighting. Like, the idea, if we try to impose moral rules from the top, then that will result in people ignoring moral rules and bad things will happen, and you're an oppressor. Shut up, racist.
That's it, isn't it? Oh, look, a racist.
It's like, oh, look, someone disagrees with me. Probably a racist.
Yes. We're talking about hate facts here.
Hate facts?
Yes. Statistics are hate facts.
Oh, yeah. Anything that doesn't confirm my worldview is a hate fact. Anything that you say that I disagree with is hate speech. Okay. Let's have a look. Okay. What's my prediction for Batman? Well, I hope the next movie is good. It's a bit of a joke there. Someone's just asked for the by-election. Sorry, I shouldn't have to explain that terrible joke. Let's have a look. Okay, so yeah, thanks, Ian. He said, remember that it took only 10 years to make a pre-Gutenberg book and only 5 people would read it. Don't worry about your great videos. Yeah, it's good. I mean, that's the thing. I agree. Like, the content, as long as the content's good, then we just keep making it.
Yeah.
So
and the internet is forever.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly. Yeah. Sometimes I won't talk about this for too long, but sometimes it gets really frustrating. I look at the content that I'm making and it's like, I'm putting so much effort into it, and I see other guys who make like 10 videos, where the content's nowhere near as good, and they have like 10,000 subs, and you're just like, why is that one doing so well, but mine's not? Like, what did I do wrong? But I think a lot of the time it's a lot of luck, and you hit a trending topic, and something could just blow up over, like one video could just blow up, and even a video from like a year ago could just blow up suddenly. So I mean, I enjoy making the videos, and I enjoy putting them up, and I enjoy looking at my channel grow and all that kind of thing. So that's the main thing I'm concerned about, just one video at a time. And I heard that Philip DeFranco didn't blow up until he made 80 videos, I believe, and it took PewDiePie a whole year of making his content before he got over 1,000 subscribers. So I mean, that's PewDiePie he would have been making videos every day. So I mean, it's hard at the start. So for XYZ, XYZ's obviously growing quite a lot. I think we should be doing more. We should try and do more podcasts on XYZ.
Absolutely.
We should do more podcasts, because I mean, we're obviously having trouble with the live streaming, but maybe we can sit down on like another day. This is for everyone watching. We'll be having more live streams, but we'll also have maybe more podcasts that can go on XYZ's channel for the time being, where we can maybe talk about trickle-down economics. We've got the cryptocurrency video, which will be coming out soon. So we got time for one more topic, and that's Elon Musk. And then if anyone has, maybe if any of our massive audience, our lovely, awesome audience here, who I hope you're enjoying our content. If you have any questions, please feel free to chuck them into chat, and we'll try to get to them. But we've got a little bit more time, and so Elon Musk and this South Australia battery. What are your thoughts on that?
Could you? Oh, okay, yeah, because he's making a battery in South Australia. Could you tell me a little bit more about it, mate?
So what was that?
Could you tell me a little bit more about it?
Okay, so he's made. So it was announced last year they're going to do this solar panel slash battery thing, and it's going to be. They're going to get. He's going to get a $2 million grant from the government. So the government's going to give him $2 million. And this is as far as I know. They've spent, read the stories and all that kind of thing, and he's going to get a $50 million loan. So he's going to get $2 million plus $50 million from the loan from the government from the clean energy scheme or something, which is a loan. I would imagine I don't know what the terms are. Who cares? It's like, so he's basically getting about $50 million from the government to put 50,000 to put solar panels on 50,000 homes. So the ABC article mentioned that it was 50,000 homes, but then I read an MSN article that pointed out that it was actually going to be public housing. So it's going to be public housing. All these solar panels are going to be on public housing. They are not going to be owned by the residents. So it's going to be owned by the government, I believe. The government and Tesla are going to charge people within the houses for the power. The theory being that there's going to produce excess power, so it'll lower their power bill. I don't think that's going to happen. But I'm not an energy sector expert by any means. I just know that what's cheap and what isn't, and solar's not cheap. Now, one of the things I noticed on this is $50 million, right? Mm-hmm. $50 million they're spending on these solar panels. It gets the battery is supposedly gets 650 megawatts. So 650 megawatts the battery will store. How much power do you think Adelaide or South Australia uses in 1 hour?
Billions?
On average, just on average. This is the numbers that I looked at today. This is what they were using at 4 o'clock today when I had a look at the numbers, just to prepare for the live stream. So the battery will store 650 megawatts. How much power does megawatts? How much power does South Australia use in 1 hour?
Let's go a million.
Let's go a million megawatts. Not quite. 2,000.
Okay.
So it's 650 megawatts. This is a $50 million battery system that will allow, at its best, provided it works properly, 650 megawatts of storage. So basically, it's 15 minutes of storage for the state. $50 million for 15 minutes worth of battery storage. Plus, it's like they can add 250 megawatt hours when the sun's shining as well. So they get a little bit of extra power there for public houses, but it's not going to save them any money. It's just going to be costing shitloads for nothing.
Is this every battery stores 650 megawatts or the entire system?
No, this is the total scheme.
Oh my
as far as I can tell, that's the total scheme. I mean, please tell me if it was every. No, I think every battery is a lot lower. But it's the battery. This will be full battery storage for in the event of a blackout of 650 megawatts. So that will, that's for averaged across the state is 15 minutes across the state. Obviously, I think they give it back to these 50,000 houses, which I believe would maybe give them an hour's worth of power in a blackout. Right. 50,000 hours, like an hour worth of power. I think that's just off the top of my head. I think that's about what it is. So well done on South Australia. Let's give South Australia a big clap. They had a statewide blackout due to renewables. So what do? Go and spend $50 million on more of them. So this is
it's a really funny thing about Elon Musk. I've got a theory that like one of the reasons that Elon Musk is so popular, and it's one of the things that keeps him going, and it's the reason that I love him, because like we're talking about Elon Musk and like but it's really hard for me because Elon Musk makes spaceships. And you're talking about an entire generation of men who have grown up on Star Wars. We desperately want Elon Musk to be Han Solo.
You want him to succeed so badly, but I mean, I can see that. Yes. I can see that. I see the appeal of his vision. I mean, I see the appeal of it, and it's like, yeah, do this. But for me, this is what Elon Musk looks like to me. You go on, and I'll tell you what he looks like to me after.
Okay, the thing is, like, he has achieved amazing things. Like, he has found a way to make a rocket that takes a spaceship up into orbit. He's found a way to make that rocket land again. Like, when I was a kid, like, when I saw the space shuttle back in the 80s, I thought the space shuttle was like the Millennium Falcon. I thought the space shuttle went up into outer space, came back, fantastic. And then when I was older, I found out, no, they have to send up 3 giant rockets with it. They throw them away. That costs millions and millions of dollars. And so then I understood that, like, like in about the 1990s, people were talking about space travel and saying, look, if we want like anything like, exists in Star Wars, it would use up the entire resources of the planet and we would never be able to do it. Elon Musk has found a way to get payloads into outer space that drastically reduces the amount of resources used and drastically reduces the amount of money spent. And he's done an amazing job with that. But then he goes and spends time on these projects and we're like, why are you doing that? Why aren't you just making spaceships? Why aren't you making amazing fast cars which people are going to want to drive? That, like, it doesn't matter if the government gives you a subsidy for it, we're just going to want it. Like he sold 50,000 hats about just a tunnel that he's making. And so, like, and that's the reason why he's made a flamethrower, which is just amazing. He's like, if I can sell 50,000 of these hats, I'll make a flamethrower. So number one, he's a great salesperson, and number two, he's amazing technically. Then it's like, why does he get involved in the politics side of things? And I wish that he could just go, you know what, all I want to do is make money and make amazing spaceships. But instead he's like, no, I want to save the world.
Yeah, and I just look at him. I look at Elon Musk, and this is, to me, Elon Musk is, like you said, he's a very good salesman. So he really knows how to sell a vision. He knows how to tell a story, but he doesn't seem to know how to create a product that's profitable. And you look at like Tesla, and Tesla, I mean, I haven't looked at the financials, but you just hear reports from people who have looked at the financials who are credible, and it's losing money hand over fist. It just keeps losing money. And my problem with Elon Musk is his business model is sell an amazing vision and get money, people to fund the vision. He's not selling products, he's selling stories. And the problem with the selling of the story isn't that you're selling a story, it's that people expect a product at the end of the story. So if he's...
But do you think with something like Tesla, though, it's just that he hasn't made money yet? Like,
no,
he's like the improvements that he's making. Like, you look at the cars that he's making, and he's made cars that have a more performance than high power cars, and they're cheaper. And he's forced all the other companies in the world to actually make their own electric cars as well, because they're like, oh, look, this guy's doing this amazing stuff, we've got to do that as well. So he's influenced the market.
That's social pressure, though. And again, it's not profitable. If it was profitable, he wouldn't need to be going and doing all these fundraising things. I mean, think about this. Henry Ford didn't go to the world and say, everyone, I have an idea that's amazing. Send me all this money and I will give you this amazing idea in 3 years. You'll have a car in 3 years. You won't have to use your horse anymore. I promise you, just send me your money. I will make you a horse-free carriage. It'll be a carriage that doesn't need a horse to be driven. There'll be no crap on the ground. The upkeep will be less. It won't cost you. You won't have to feed it. The only food it'll need is petrol, and it'll be amazing. It'll be an amazing thing. Just give me this money. No, he didn't do that. What Henry Ford did was go out and say, this is the car that I've built. This is the price. Do you want it? And the market said, yes, we'll take it. And he made a crap load of money. And this is why, I mean, and people try and compare Elon Musk to Amazon. Like, Amazon was cash flow positive while it wasn't profitable. Tesla and Musk companies are not cash flow positive. They're capital intensive, and they're not making a real profit. They're not making a cash profit. And it's just like, you look at it and I'm like, nah, this can't last. The guy is basically surviving on selling a dream, especially, and he's selling a dream now he's selling it to politicians, and nobody is a sucker for a dream like a politician, because one, they might actually be falling for it, and two, if they are falling for it, even if they're not, a dream wins votes as well. So politicians are like, if politicians are part of your core market, then you've probably got a problem with your business model. And I don't see personally an issue with Elon Musk, but I just don't like what his business model stands for. I don't like the fact that he's selling an idea that hasn't actually been fulfilled yet, rather than a product that people are willing to purchase at a price that makes him a profit. So he's not, unless he can do that, then you're not proving you're providing a real benefit to society in terms of economics. That is.
But do you think, like, maybe in a couple of years' time, when like the orders round of cars and that sort of stuff, like that's going to actually give him the profit that we're talking about?
In a couple of years, sorry, what was that?
Well, I don't know if like there's talk of the next model which like had like tens of thousands of pre-order and everything like that. I don't know if that's come through yet.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. Like he's always doing the next model, and then he's bringing out a truck and a motorbike. He'll probably bring out a hovercraft. He might even turn around and say, "Oh, we're gonna have warp powered fusion generators within 20 years. Come and send me $20 trillion. I promise it'll happen." It's like, no, I don't believe it.
Yeah, okay.
If you want my money, offer me a product. I want to see the product. I want to know the price, and I want to know that it's going to be delivered within a reasonable time frame before I'm going to pay anything. I know other people are different. Other people are just like, fire, yeah, Tesla. And you see them driving around, but it's like, no. I don't see this as being profitable without heavy government subsidies and heavy government interference in an otherwise free market. So until he actually produces, I'm going to be an Elon Musk skeptic, I'm afraid.
What about SpaceX then? There's two aspects to like what he's doing with SpaceX. Like he, because of the technological advances, he is a private company. Like SpaceX is a private company and does things far more efficiently than NASA. The US government has been able to subcontract to SpaceX, and I don't know if it necessarily saves the US taxpayer any money, but they're able to do more things more efficiently. And like as more players come into the space market, like you've got a big player that's actually going to be able to provide something of value to people to put satellites into outer space, and then potentially like kickstart the space mining industry as well. Do you think that he can provide value there?
No. If he's taking money from the government, he's not providing value. Unless, see, you can take money from the government and provide value if you're like, you're a police officer and you're preventing, you're in the army and you're preventing, the prevention of immorality, i.e. crimes. But he's taking taxpayer money again, selling that dream. It's like, well, give me taxpayer money and I'll put a rocket on Mars and we'll mine the asteroids and all that kind of thing. The government has got to get out of science. Like this is the government, picking winners, giving money to this company because this guy's really, really good at selling a dream. Don't go to the taxpayer, to asking money for the taxpayer, unless you have a genuine benefit to offer them that they can look at it and go, yes, the taxpayers are going to benefit from this, i.e. giving police officers Glocks, giving your soldiers better tanks, giving, if you want to build if the government's going to be building railroads and all that kind of stuff, giving them a better train, actually go out, have a value proposition, say, this is what I can do for you right now. We are always improving. This is what I can do for you right now. This is the price. This is where the value is. Do you want to pay for it? Like, do you want to buy it? And to me, he looks like your classic crony capitalist, where he's selling snake oil. He's selling snake oil to the government. And I guess I don't think a snake oil salesman is quite the right analogy for Elon Musk, because he has, obviously he's got the rocket that goes up and down, and he has all those technological benefits, like the technological advances that you talked about. But if these things are so valuable, then the market will buy them. Like, if it's so valuable, then the market will buy them.
What if with NASA, yes, NASA should be disbanded. It should have been disbanded after the moon program was disbanded. But it's kind of like the ABC of the space program. Like in Australia, the ABC crowds out the rest of the market and really drags the media market to the left, and just like you look at the budgets of these supposed like multinational conglomerates and whatever, and then you look at the budget of the ABC. It's $1 billion a year, and it just distorts everything. So the same way with NASA, like is about gaming, and so could you argue that SpaceX, like it has to deal with the government?
You were cutting in and out there a little bit. So, well, the government, does SpaceX, I think he's put it this way. I'm going to let's take a look at this from a different point of view. All the things we talked about before with welfare, taxation, and all that kind of thing. Imagine a situation. Let's go. Imagine all the people didn't have to pay tax. Imagine if nobody had to pay tax, or the tax that we paid was like a 10% GST and 5% of your gross income with no deductions, and that was it. Over $10,000 a year. If you earn $10,000 a year, you pay 5% of your gross income, and there's no deductions. That's just that's the amount of money that goes into your bank account. This is how much the government takes out. And then, you got your GST on, let's say GST on non-essential goods as well. Or, hell, we'll just leave the GST as it is. How much more money would people have in their pockets if that was the case? People would have oodles more cash. You'd have all these people, especially the most productive people, the richest kind of people, the most wealthy, the most productive, the kind of people that have the money to invest in a company like SpaceX, to buy a Tesla, instead of if they're not having their money extorted off them by the government, maybe they could use their money to invest in something like this, or just as a pet project. You know what I mean? Like if you've got a guy, like a whole group of multi-millionaires, and they're sitting around, they don't have to pay tax, they got all this cash and all that kind of thing, and they're turning around going, well, what could we spend our money on today? Hell, let's go and give it to the guy who can make rockets go to Mars. And I would think there'd be a better value proposition. This is what you'd also get with that situation is you'd have more private charities, and the media could actually do a proper job. See, if you did this, like you wouldn't need welfare, because you could have the media going around and shaming CEOs for not paying to charities and not giving enough of their money away. You could just shame people into giving money to charity. You don't need to extort it off them. Like, shame is a much better tool than using government force and say you must pay for these people. But if you shame a guy who's a billionaire who's never given money to charity, and just say, well, this is the worst kind of person. I mean, he could, if he doesn't want to do it, just let him be alone for the rest of his life. Just demonize him as someone who doesn't give to charity. But then if he starts doing it, it's like, well done. This billionaire just gave $200 million to the Starlight Foundation. What a great bloke. That's a great person. Let's give him a statue down at the building that we're going to build with all this money that he just gave us. So it would just be a much better situation. And I think in a situation like that, you would have an opportunity for these Elon Musk kind of guys to come in with their dreaming ambitions, because we'd have so much more money to just throw at it anyway. Like there'd be more money than we could even know what to do with.
So what you're talking about here is the opportunity costs.
Yeah. So, it's all opportunity costs.
So Elon Musk is getting money off the government, but really he's barking down the wrong. He's going up the wrong track.
Ultimately, I mean, he's a small part of a much bigger problem. He's a small part of a much bigger problem. So I mean, not to demonize the guy too much. I mean, he doesn't look like a dishonest person. I mean, he might be hiding crap. I think someone said that he's probably going to be leaving Tesla soon. And going back to SpaceX, I think, or maybe it was the other way around. But
that'd be great. Oh, I'd love him just to work on SpaceX.
Yeah, to work on. Yeah. He might go and work on SpaceX because and not on Tesla, and it'll probably collapse and that kind of thing. It just, from what I've heard from people who know what they're talking about, I'm not a SpaceX Elon Musk expert, but from what I've heard, I just don't. From what I can see and based on my knowledge, I don't see this company lasting into the future, barring some sort of big breakthrough. Like, he works out how to make a Tesla for 20 grand instead of $100,000. You know what I mean? Like, so barring some sort of big technological breakthrough.
Yeah, it's a funny thing. I've gone from like really, really loving Elon Musk to sort of being a little bit more realistic about it. Even a couple of years ago, I did what was essentially some fan fiction, combining. I basically put Elon Musk as Hank Reardon in a scene from Atlas Shrugged, and I shared it on a forum on a Facebook group for objectivists, and you should have seen it. There was absolute carnage. The kind of arguments that we've had with Antifa, the arguments that we've had with the Nazi LARPers, they do not compare to the pasting that I received.
What? Sorry, you cut out when you told me what you received. What did from when you posted Ayn Rand?
Yeah, I posted this fan fiction in an Ayn Rand forum, and they absolutely hacked me. I tried. Well, Ayn Rand was on welfare, and they banned me for that. There was actually a forum rule. You can't make that.
It's rule. Such a silly thing.
You make that argument, you get banned.
You should point out that she was on welfare. It's so dumb. This is the dumbest thing. Like, people talk about this. Oh, well, Ayn Rand was on welfare, and therefore she's a hypocrite. No, Ayn Rand would be a hypocrite if she became the prime minister of her country and then doubled welfare. Ayn Rand is not a hypocrite for taking welfare. Ayn Rand is acting perfectly rationally within the system that she has been placed in. I don't blame anyone for taking welfare. I've taken welfare. I've been on. I've spent years on welfare, literally years on welfare. I don't, and I'm totally. I would. If it cancelled tomorrow, I'd be like, okay. But that if I was upset about them cancelling it, then I'd be a hypocrite. But people taking welfare, no, you're not the one. You're perfectly rational to take it if the government's already stolen the money, and you'd be stupid not to, because someone else is going to take it. And you think just because you don't take your $600 a fortnight, you don't take $600 a fortnight, you're not doing anyone any favors. That's just $600 that the government's going to use to spend on something else. So you may as well just take it. You may as well just take it and just enjoy it. And it makes you lazy, ultimately. But take the money and then use it. So have I spoken about this with you? It's like, take the money and use it to fight against them. It's like the ultimate. Yeah, I
understand the argument now, and actually, Aaron Clarey makes it He makes that argument in Enjoy the Decline. He's like, well, you minimize how much the government can take from you, and then you take as much from the government as you can, and you actually hasten the decline of the socialist system.
And buy cryptocurrencies. That's not financial advice, by the way. Don't buy cryptocurrencies unless you know the risks. But I recently bought cryptocurrencies, and I'm kind of hoping that they go to the moon, but I don't think they will. I bought like $50 worth of Bitcoin, just so that I could say that I own Bitcoin. But I bought maybe like five other cryptos, and I'm like, come on, one of these is going to go from like $5 into 5 million. I can feel it.
Once you started, you just couldn't stop, eh?
Once I popped, I bought. Let's see, I bought Ripple. I've got Bitcoin Cash, which is a different one. Ripple, Bitcoin Cash, Tron. This one called Cardano or something. I don't know. I just like the idea of these. Yeah. So they're these are just ones I bought. I mean, hopefully it goes well. But I can see real value once banks realize that they can use cryptocurrencies to completely eliminate transaction costs. I think they might just jump on that bandwagon just between you and me. Once they realize exactly how valuable these things actually are. All right. Did you have any last words, mate? Any last words? Okay. Any last comments, I should say, before we've gone a bit over time, but I mean, that's fine. Any final questions from chat? Sorry, yeah.
No, just thanks to everybody for listening. Thanks everybody for continuing to read. Thanks everybody for listening to the Star Wars video that we made, where we've got nearly 4,000 views on YouTube from that one. And thanks for continuing to support the Patreon, and just we'll just keep pumping out more news. Yeah,
and for the guys listening and watching who don't know quite who XYZ are, go check out their website. It is at xyz.net.au, and I'll put a link to in the description of this live stream. I actually put a link in all my videos, have a link to XYZ in them. Just go check it out. Just a website. You know, it's like news and commentary, and there's some really, really entertaining stuff and really, really good stuff. And they're actually, you know, doing the job that a lot of the media really should be doing, but aren't. So please, yeah, do check out XYZ. Yeah, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Go check out their channel. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for listening to us crap on for the last hour and a half.
It's a lot of fun.
Oh, sorry, just before we go, we are going to be doing this on a weekly basis. So next Monday we will be doing this again. So tune in again next week, and let's get the XYZ live stream growing.
Beautiful. See you, everybody.
Thanks, Scott. See you around, everyone. See you guys.